All right, I suppose we can go ahead and get started. Welcome to the next section or session, excuse me, for the Patton College's Summer PD series. Today we have Todd Whited with us. He's an instructional technologist with OIT, and he will be here to talk about Panopto with you all. Just a note, this is being recorded and will be posted on the Patton College YouTube channel afterwards. And if you could all make sure your mics are muted, that would be great. So Todd, take it away.
Thank you, Jody. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here with you today. My name is Todd Whited. As Jody mentioned, I'm an instructional technologist with OIT. I've been there just this summer, actually, at the start of June. Prior to that, I was with the Office of Instructional Innovation as a technologist. And before that, IT support for the College of Business. So I wanted to especially say thank you for having us here today. We always appreciate the opportunity to do these group trainings to demonstrate what tools you have accessible to you for teaching and learning. And so we think it's a great opportunity to just get information out there. So it's my understanding that today we're talking about Panopto. I wasn't given any specifics, so we're just going to kind of do a general overview of Panopto, what it is, how you can use it, how it functions. The nice thing is I believe we have an hour and a half scheduled for this, and my presentation is tailored for about an hour. So we have plenty of time to veer off the beaten path if you want as we go through this. Feel free to ask questions via the chat, or if you have a microphone hooked up, use your microphone and just break into the conversation as I'm going through to ask questions or maybe ask for clarification or more description about some things. I'm going to try and make this so it's not death by PowerPoint. The PowerPoint slides have been shared with you there in the chat, but I am going to start off just kind of running through the first couple of slides of PowerPoint, and then we'll kind of go into more of a live demonstration of Panopto. So as I said previously, please feel free to ask questions as soon as you have them via chat, via audio, whatever works best for you. So let me get my screen shared with you all. Okay, Jody, are you able to see my title slide?
Now we can.
Okay, great, thank you. So today we are getting to know Panopto. And kind of what I want to review with you today is in terms of an actual outline. Like I said, we can veer from this beaten path if you like. I just want to talk about our goal today. What is Panopto? How do you access it? How do you work with it? And then ultimately, how do you make it available? What you create with Panopto, how do you make that available to your students? So that's kind of the outline of what we'll be going through today. My goal is by the end of the session that you'll be able to record a narrated PowerPoint presentation, maybe perform some minor editing and share your finished video with your students in Blackboard. So I may bounce, actually I'm going to bounce over to a live demonstration, but everything that I cover in the live demonstration is kind of pinpointed, very clearly in the slides that were shared with you. So hopefully you'll find all of the same information that I'm going over with you live here is there for you to refer to. So the very first question you might have is what even is Panopto? And Panopto is an enterprise level video solution that organizations use to manage and stream video content. There are a number of different uses for Panopto depending on what type of organization you're affiliated with. And some of those options or some of those examples are listed here on this slide. But what we're really interested in here at Ohio University is the lecture capture portion, which enables you to then flip the classroom if you like, and the accessibility options that Panopto has built into the system. All right, so this is the starting slide where we would actually get into the live demonstration. So I'm going to switch back over to my browser here, and we'll I'll show you what it looks like from the very get-go. So listed in the slides is the link to Panopto, but if you're interested in knowing exactly what it is, it's this right up here that I've highlighted, which is ohiouniversity.hosted.com. ohiouniversity.panopto.com. So ohiouniversity.hosted.panopto.com. You could also very easily just do a Google search for OU Panopto, and it would take you to the OIT site where it has that login as well. But as I said, it's also included in the slides that you have. So once you get there, it's going to take you to this kind of landing or sign-in page, and it's going to ask you to sign into Panopto. And you can sign in using Blackboard Production, or you can sign in using Ohio University Single Sign-On. We always just choose Blackboard Production. It's the one that's there by default. So as long as you're already logged into your email or some other OU system, you should be able to just click the sign-in button, and it'll take you directly into the Panopto interface. So this is what we're looking at now, is kind of the management side of Panopto. So what we're seeing here is various
Elaborate.
Various videos that other people have created or what's been recently created. So depending on your role in Panopto, you may see more of these, you may see less of these, but basically, when you first log into Panopto, you get a personal folder that's created for you. And if you look over here in the upper left-hand corner, there's there's a menu here that I can click on. And if I go into my folder, then this is everything that I've done or that I've been experimenting with or working on, and I've even got folders inside of that folder. So I just wanted to point that out so that you understand that you have personal folders in Panopto. But then also, when you're creating content in Panopto, videos for your courses in Blackboard, you'll also have access to course folders if your Blackboard course has been provisioned for Panopto. And what I mean by that is, in your Blackboard course, you have course tools, and if you click under course tools, you'll see a link for Panopto content or an option for Panopto content in Blackboard. And when you click on that, it will then either ask you if you want to create a new folder for this course in Blackboard. I'm sorry, if you all could please mute your microphones, that would be fantastic, unless you're asking a question. I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to just I apologize. I'm going to mute everybody here. Okay, there we go. So everybody's now muted. If you have a question that you need to ask, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. So as I mentioned, your courses in Blackboard, you actually provision them for Panopto. And basically what you're doing is you're saying, yes, Blackboard, I want to use Panopto in my course. Please create a course folder for me in Blackboard. And that's what it does. So if you are the instructor of a course and it's provisioned for Blackboard, you should have access to that folder in Panopto where that content is. And it also allows you to easily bring that content into your course and share it with your students. And we can get into that maybe at the end of this if we have time, if you want to see that provisioning process. It kind of falls on the cusp between Blackboard training and Panopto training. So I'm going to concentrate on Panopto for today. But if we have time and you're interested, I'd be happy to show you how that works. All right, so once you're into Panopto, if you've never used it before, the first thing that you're going to want to do is download and install the Panopto application. And that's available up here in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Where you see my name here, there's an icon or a link below to download Panopto. So that would download the installer, whether you're on Mac or PC. I believe, actually, let me take a look at this. Yes. So here are your Windows installers, and here's your Mac installer. So there are a couple different software packages here that you can download. What you're interested in is this one at the top, this one that just says Panopto, and whatever version, whatever type of computer you have, whether it's Windows or Mac. So we're going to go ahead and assume that you've downloaded and you've installed Panopto. Now, what we basically want to do is we want to create something at this point. So in the center of your screen, there's a drop-down menu that says Create. And you have a few different options of what you can do here. So you can create content entirely from scratch in video content entirely from scratch in Panopto. Or if you have like a pre-recorded lecture or something or presentation from a previous course that was done with different software, and you have like an MP4 file or a video file, you can actually upload that into Panopto, and it hosts the video for you with some extra options there. So that's typically the two primary uses. People are either creating new video content or they're uploading media that already exists. But that's not, obviously from the list here, that's not all you can do with it, but that's what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to go ahead and go into record a new session, and we'll just kind of take a look at what happens when you go to record a new session and what options you have available to you. If you have Panopto already installed, you can see here it gives you the option to just launch Panopto. Otherwise, it's going to ask you to download the installer for your computer. But I already have it installed, so I'm just going to click Launch Panopto. And I have a caveat here. So I am working on a Windows computer, and so the placement of items and the way that this looks is slightly different on Mac, on iOS. But the same functionality exists across both platforms. It's just this presentation and my PowerPoint, unfortunately, are both geared towards only the Windows side right now. But it should be enough to make you dangerous to click around and find what you're looking for in iOS running Panopto. You probably noticed as soon as I launched this interface here or told Panopto that I wanted to create a new recording, I got a couple error messages here that I just kind of clicked out of while I was talking to you. Those error messages were telling me that Panopto couldn't access my webcam because my webcam is being used by Teams right now. So this is kind of an important consideration whenever you're using Panopto, especially now that we're doing so much work remotely and everybody is using Teams or Zoom or Adobe Connect or whatever video conferencing platform you're using. Keep in mind that applications on your computer sometimes like to fight for control of your devices, and typically it's first come, first served. So because I shared my screen with you and I was using my webcam in Teams as we started this meeting or this training, Panopto is now mad because it can't access my webcam. So that's what that was about. I guess all that to say, when you are recording in Panopto or really recording in anything, you want to make sure that any other applications that might be running on your computer that could possibly want to take control of your camera or your microphone, you want to make sure that those are shut down so that there's no struggle between software on your computer. So I hope that makes sense. If not, feel free to ask a question and I can clarify. But that's what those error messages you saw were. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of a trick here. Okay, there we go. I have some additional software on my computer that's actually allowing me to force Panopto to view my video. So this is good for this example here. So let me enlarge this interface and hopefully maybe it makes things a little bit larger for you. Before we even start recording our session, we want to kind of set up our settings and we want to tell it what is the title and where are we recording to, what folder do we want it to go into. So the very first top item here is a drop-down menu and it asks, what folder would you like to record your video in? So if I have provisioned my course for Panopto, I would want to record in the Panopto folder that's labeled exactly as you would see it in Blackboard. So music _ 5002 _ whatever the term and all of that. The folders get named as the titles of your courses in Blackboard. So I would navigate to that folder. In this instance, I don't want to put it in anyone's course folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my folder. But I do want to show you, so I'm already at my folder, but I do want to show you inside my folder, I have some other things here. So I'm going to click into this random folder. And now you can see the folder that I'm, You can see here where my mouse cursor is, the folder that I'm recording to is the random folder inside of my personal folder. If I want to name it, I'll just call this test. I'm just going to add test to the beginning of this, and it has the date and the time. That's fine with me. Maybe I'll get rid of the time. And so this is now what my video will be called when it's finished. That's not to say that I can't go in there and change the name after the fact. It's just I like to get this out of the way up front. So I'm going to name it exactly as I want it. The neat thing about Panopto and its ability to do lecture capture is that it can record multiple sources of video simultaneously. So you can record yourself on a webcam presenting material as your PowerPoint is displayed in a larger window to the right. So as you see where my webcam video is here in the smaller window in the upper left-hand corner, to the right in that large gray area is where my presentation would show up. And the view is actually pretty similar to this when you're actually looking at a video. In fact, let me show you real quickly what a pre-recorded video looks like so that you can kind of get a better sense of what the finished product looks like. I'm going to try and find one that has PowerPoint and webcam. Sometimes you have to search around a little bit. Okay, this one is just PowerPoint. Give me 1 second, please, as I try and find a good example of something with both. And I apologize if I click into your Panopto video unexpectedly. I didn't do it on purpose. I just tried to find a good example. Now I'll give it a couple more tries here, but I'm not going to. There we go. Okay, so a completed Panopto video or a finished Panopto video would look very similar to this if this is what you want, how you wanted it to look. So your video would be here on the upper left-hand corner. Your presentation is here. As you speak and as you move through your presentation, it transitions slides in the video that the students see, so it automatically kind of times that out based on when you hit the next button when you're recording. Another really nice thing about this is if you are using a PowerPoint presentation and each of your slides has some text in the title of the slide in terms of like what that slide is about, Panopto actually automatically generates a table of contents for you here on the left based on any titles that are in your slide. So each slide that has a title identified, introduction, structure, topics, those actually get broken out automatically. You don't have to do a thing into a table of contents. And what's nice is because essentially the students are watching now a video when they come to view this content, but it's a little bit more interactive than that. Say you had, say there was a super long presentation, like 40 minutes or something that I wanted to review just a specific component of it as a student. It's like, I didn't really catch that. And then I remember it was at around 23 minutes and the instructor was talking about isotopes or something like that. Well, they could easily refer to this table of contents here, or this listing here, and see what topics came up at what point in the presentation. So let's say I'm interested in this topics. I can click right here on topics, and the video has forwarded me to that spot on the timeline automatically. So that's a pretty slick feature, I think, of Panopto and very helpful. The nice thing is you can also come in here. Like I said, it automatically generates this table of contents for you. It doesn't mean that you have to keep it like that. You can change not only, you can come in here and not only edit what it says here in terms of each listing, but you could also even possibly change some of the timings at which those occur. There is also a discussion feature within Panopto. So say you wanted students to watch a video and comment on it as part of their grades. You can ask them to use this discussion feature, and whenever you type out a comment, and I'm not actually going to submit this comment because this is someone else's video, but a student would type their comment here. Say they're watching along, and they get to 3 minutes and 14 seconds, and they have a comment that they would like to make. So they pause the video right there. They type their comment here. I think I'm going to be able to delete my comment. So I'm going to go ahead and post this so you can see what it looks like after I do that. So I posted just the word text here, and you can see it time-stamped everything for me. And it shows my name, it shows the date and the time at which I made this comment, and it shows me where on the video I made this comment. Now, I kind of goofed up there. I did things a little bit out of order. When I originally did this typed in test, I was sitting at 13 seconds. Let me try that one more time. Now you can see that where I'm at 3 minutes and 15 seconds on the timeline. Now it actually put that comment at the right spot on the timeline. So just, just something interesting to note. Also, Panopto will automatically close caption your videos, your lectures. It does it, we feel, with roughly 85% accuracy, which isn't bad really for artificial intelligence closed captioning. So it at least generates something, and it would be good enough for students to follow along. Now, if I had like a hard of hearing student in one of my courses, I might go through myself or ask a GA to go through and actually clean that closed captioning up just a little bit, just to make sure that there's no like technical terms that keep getting misspelled or things like that. Panopto's general statement about the closed captioning process, and this is included at the end, I think, of your slides that you have. Their general statement is if your recording is less than 1 hour, typically those closed captions will be generated within 8 hours. If it's longer than 1 hour in duration, then those captions will hopefully be generated within a 24-hour period. So take that for what you will. Yeah, so how this works, and let me turn my sound down here so that we're not distracted by that. But basically, as you're talking and you're lecturing to your students, or talking about your PowerPoint or whatever you have displayed on the screen, the PowerPoint follows along. You can see that the timeline is sort of moving down here, and I can fast forward and skip around. And as she is presenting and changing the slides, they change automatically on my side of things. So that's just a bit of kind of what it looks like from the student side of things. Okay. We don't have to make it look like this. We can do some things a little bit differently, and I'll show you a bit of what that looks like now.
Todd, we have a quick question in the chat, which you might be addressing later, but they asked, who can view what we create in Panopto? Can it be viewed by other members in the Ohio network? Are faculty able to set privacy settings so that the video can only be viewed by our students?
Thank you very much. Fantastic question. So let me jump into one that's just in my folder. This was just a meeting that we had recorded. So I, as the owner or the creator of this video, when I click into it, not only can I just view it as normally as someone normally would, but I have some additional options here up at the top right-hand side where I'm scrolling my mouse. And I have settings, which we'll go into maybe a little bit later. Sharing, which is specifically the question that was just asked, and editing. So we are going to go into editing in a little bit, but since the question was asked about sharing, I'll go ahead and show you what those sharing options look like. Now, one thing that I cannot answer, and I'm still waiting on an answer for this myself, is when I log into Panopto, and I presume when other people log into Panopto, we see that big list of like everything that's been recently created. And to me, that seems a little odd unless I had it like by default shared with the entire organization. So I assure you that students cannot see all of that stuff. It's only faculty, but I do understand and realize that that can be an issue as well. So yeah, with that very front end, when you first go in, all of those videos that you can see, I'm not exactly sure why those policies are set that way. So unfortunately, I can't give you a 100% firm answer on that, but I can at least show you the sharing options that are available within Panopto, because yes, you do have some control over those things. You'll notice when I click on the sharing, it brings me kind of into this. This is basically the settings menu. I just happened to click on the share icon, so it took me directly to the share portion of the settings menu. Here you can generate a link for sharing, or you can also generate embed code if you actually want to embed your video into Blackboard. That code shows up here after you specify how you want it to appear in Blackboard. You have some options here, and you can simply copy the embed code and then use the embed feature in Panopto, or you can generate a link and share that link in Panopto as well. Or I believe there's also even a third method for if you've provisioned a course for Panopto, then I believe it's even easier to bring your videos in from your course folder. A couple things to keep in mind is, so under who has access, this is an important thing to read here. This session inherits permissions from its parent folder, Its parent folder is my folder. So right now I'm inside of my folder, and this video by default has taken any permissions that I've given to my folder, its parent. So right now it says anyone with the link can view and no sign-in is required, but it is unlisted, which means there's not going to be a directory of this anywhere where students can find. You would have to either guess the link, which is going to be fairly difficult if you notice by what it looks like up here, or someone has sent that to you directly. You can set it to specific people, so only specific users and groups can view. So right now, if I were to change this, only I, in theory, would be able to view it, and I would have creator access to that. So I'm actually going to save those changes. And if I wanted to specify someone else, I could search for Jody. And that look for the proper one. You might find multiple listings for people in Panopto. There are some like old account leftovers or something, different user types that show up. So you're always kind of looking for one that says unified and has the naming convention that we're used to for our emails, which is typically our last name, first initial sort of thing. This is her student account. So I don't want to add her to her student account. I want to add her faculty or staff account. So I can do that. I can invite Jody, and I'm assuming it's thinking about something right here. I thought maybe at this point I would be able to set what level of access she has, but let's see what happens. I'm just going to click Save and Change. Now Jody is listed as one of the specific people that has access to this video, and I have a drop-down menu. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, apparently I need some more training myself. So in here somewhere should be the ability to give her like creator permissions, or more than just viewing access, but maybe all you're concerned about is just viewing access. So that would be enough. And I totally did that wrong there. Sorry. Clicked on the wrong thing.
So while you're clicking around, Todd, we have another question in line with what you're working on right now, which is, can people view the video outside of OU if I send the link?
Yes, so people outside of the organization could view the video, but what you would have to do is you would have to set it to anyone. Well, you would probably, you could do one of two things. You could set it to anyone with the link, or public on the web. Now, what exactly public on the web means in terms of our hosted Panopto solution, I'm not sure. Does that mean that like Google will now be able to browse and index, this video and pull it up in a Google search? I'm not sure. But this is the most insecure option you can choose. So it's public on the web. Anyone on the internet can find it and view, and they don't have to be signed into Ohio University single sign-on. Probably not. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, there's another question about everyone being able to view videos versus people with the link in the chat. And I just want to say, so I think some people, and Todd was mentioning all the videos he was able to see, default to clicking anyone at your organization, and that means that anyone at the organization will be able to search for that video and see it on that main page. But if you do anyone at the organization with the link, then it should not appear on that main page. So that would only be people who have access to that link. So you just need to make sure you use the icon with a little link beneath it, so that it's not searchable, right? So unlisted is what you want if you don't want it to appear on that main page. And Todd, I think originally when Panopto popped up, the permissions were different. So I think that's why there's so many available videos is from the earlier.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, Jody, for clarifying. Yeah, so it might not be a bad idea to, if you decide that you're going to provision your course for Panopto, or just you're going to create your own personal folder and share stuff out of that. As soon as you create that folder, before you even populate it with a video, I would set its permissions at the folder level and say everything contained within me also follows these same permissions. And that way, you know, right out of the gate, it's doing what you want to do. You might need to do a little testing with a colleague or a coworker just to make sure that it's functioning and access is the way that you want it. And then you should be pretty confident that you're good to go. So yeah, so the anyone with the link hopefully does keep it unlisted, kind of keeps it off of the front page, keeps it unsearchable, so to speak. But those that you send the link to directly can click on that link and view, and they do not need to sign in to Ohio University single sign-on. Okay, so those are the bottom two options. That's how you share with people outside of the organization. Inside of the organization, and possibly maybe even outside, I'm sure that maybe that specific people, if someone had a Gmail account, I believe I would be able to specify a single Gmail account and share it with someone. I haven't tested that yet, but I believe that would be the case. But anyway, the other two, the anyone at your organization, so yeah, anyone at your organization can find and view this video within Panopto. So the only security there is that they have to be signed on to, they have to have an OU account. They need to be signed into single sign-on. Same thing with that anyone at your organization with the link. It's now unlisted, but anyone at the organization that you've sent the link to can view it. But if they're not logged into their email or something like that, when they click on the link, it's going to force them to sign in to Ohio University's single sign-on. So I hope that clarifies that portion. Jody, are there any other outstanding questions that are coming in from this portion of things?
So there was one about embedding a YouTube video versus sharing the link. And I tried to address that in the chat. So essentially when you share a link, it takes students click on the link and it opens a new window of Panopto where they watch it in the Panopto interface. Whereas if you embed a video, it lives right within your Blackboard. And I'm going to share a video I made about how to use the Mashup Tool, which is a very easy way to embed Panopto videos or YouTube videos that you find. There's a couple other questions about, one about using a quiz within the video, and then, which I'm guessing you may address here shortly. And then another question about if someone has a video in their PowerPoint slides they're recording, will that also record into Panopto?
Yes, these are very good questions. So whoever asked the question about the quiz, that is not part of this presentation, but we have extra time, so we'll cover that. That's like a little bit like the next level of Panopto. But in terms of, yes, the embedded videos inside of a PowerPoint, I'm going to show you how this works here. I just wanted to make sure in terms of sharing that hopefully things are fairly clear there. Like I said, you might want to do some testing with your buddies after you set up a folder. Just put a test video in there, send the link out, change the permissions, and just kind of, you know, verify for yourself that it's doing what you want. I'm going to pull back up the recording interface and enlarge it. So we had just finished setting what folder we want to record into, and we set the name of our video. for this example, what I would like to do is I would like to do kind of a standard lecture capture. So that's where my video is being recorded by a webcam and my audio is being recorded by my microphone or my headset here. And I also want to have a presentation running while I speak. So that's the setup that we're going for. We're going to keep it kind of simple. You can do a little bit more with it than that, but for this right now, we're going to keep it that simple. So you'll notice in above my webcam video, it's calling my webcam video the primary source. And if you have webcam video, it does want it to see it as the primary source. You don't have to include video with your recordings. In fact, you need to think about the value add to having your video on the whole time. If I was just simply like reading from a PowerPoint and not really even looking at my camera and maybe it's pointed to the side like this, if I'm lecturing and doing all of this and going through my PowerPoint presentation, you can see that there's like no engagement with the audience. So in that scenario, to me, it would not produce any added value to have my webcam on. Now, if I wanted to do my first video for the course and it was kind of an introduction to the course and I wanted to introduce myself to my students who may have not ever met me in real life or even know what I look like or may possibly not even get the chance to meet me this semester, then I would definitely have my camera on so they could see me and put a face to the name. But I might just do that for my first video. So it's really up to you in terms of what you're doing. If you have demonstrative items in your hand or things that you can manipulate as you're talking about those things, that would be a good use of having your camera on. So I guess just always be considerate of what that value add is if you do have it on the whole time. So we're going to pretend that it's adding value to my test here. I'm not sure that it is, so under your webcam picture, if you don't see a webcam picture, it will ask you for three things here under your primary sources: your video, your audio, and what quality you're kind of looking at recording. So as I mentioned before, it doesn't like my camera right now because I'm using it for Teams. That's why I got this message that said the camera has failed. But I do have a different piece of software here called OBS Camera, and basically it's just acting as a virtual webcam. But really, ideally, you would choose your webcam on your computer. You shouldn't have this problem as long as you're not running Skype or Teams or Zoom or anything else in the background. It should be able to access your camera just fine. So normally I would select my Microsoft LifeCam Cinema because that is my webcam, but it's just being used right now. So I'm going to switch it back over to this. It's also going to ask me what microphone do I want to use, what audio source. And I happen to have many things hooked up into my computer, so I get a big long list of things that I can choose from. But what I want to use is, and sorry for tapping on that, that was probably loud. What I want to use is this headset mic that I'm wearing. And I know that Windows calls it this 4-Dynex USB device. So I make sure that the proper microphone is connected. Keep in mind, say if you are on a laptop and you have an external headset connected like I do and you plug it into your computer, your laptop still has a built-in microphone and you're always going to get better quality audio out of using like a headset mic than if your laptop's sitting 4 feet away from you on a desk. It's typically that's the way that works. Not in every case, it depends on the equipment, but all that to say that if you do have multiple devices that can be used as your audio recording device, be sure that the correct one is selected for the best quality. Speaking of quality, under the quality menu, we have 3 different options: standard, high, and ultra. I can't really tell you exactly the specifics of what those mean in terms of like, what's the difference in bit rate or file size? Who knows the resolution? It's very very low level of information here. So with that said, let's just go in the middle, and that's what we recommend. Not the lowest, not the highest. Let's just go in the middle, and that's always easy enough to remember. The nice thing is after you create a recording in Panopto, I believe the next time you launch your recorder, it's set up with your preferences as you left them previously. So you hopefully only need to do this one time setup once. There is also the option here underneath this quality to capture computer audio. And this ties into the question about embedded videos within your PowerPoint presentation. So capture computer audio, it doesn't mean capture my microphone. It's already capturing my microphone. It's capturing any audio from any media that I play on my computer while I'm recording. So if I have capture computer audio selected and I'm doing a Panopto recording and I have like a messenger service or Teams or something open or my email and my computer dings or chimes when I get an email or I get a message or whatever, a system alert of some sort, that audio will be recorded into your presentation. So I just want, if you do decide to capture your computer audio, I want you to be cognizant of the fact that it's going to capture all of your computer audio, all of the system audio that plays. So if you're doing a recording and you go out to a YouTube video and you play back that YouTube video, it is going to capture the sound of that because you have selected capture computer audio. And depending on if you have your speakers turned up really loud and you're using a microphone, it could actually pick up that audio back through your microphone, which would not be a good thing. It would create like an echo. But I just wanted you to be aware that that option exists. And yes, so there are times when you want to use that. One of those times is if you are recording a PowerPoint presentation that has embedded videos that you want to watch from directly within the PowerPoint. You don't want to embed those videos in Panopto during the recording or after the recording process. You want those to play directly from your PowerPoint. We'll come back. I'm going to circle back around to that specific example a little bit later with some other caveats. So that's your primary source. Those are the options you have for that. So these are our recommended settings. Feel free to experiment, play, do with what you will. Panopto has the ability to also capture secondary sources. And right now I actually have by default, the option to capture 3 different sources. I can capture a PowerPoint presentation. I can also capture my main screen, and I can capture a second screen because I happen to have 2 monitors hooked up to this computer. It's recognizing both of those. And so I could have, something over on one screen, something on another screen, and then my main screen and a PowerPoint. I caution you against doing this. It can get overwhelming fairly quickly. And it's a little odd when you have too many sources. From the student's perspective, when you go to view a video and it's got a bunch of sources, you'll see whatever is selected by default in the larger window to the right of my image here. You'll see like the PowerPoint, but then if you want to look at any of the other sources you recorded simultaneously, the student actually has to click on a little tab that says main screen, second screen, PowerPoint. And so it's not like doing a picture-in-picture of all of your sources. It's only doing like the picture-in-picture of your primary source, and then you can show one secondary source at a time. Even though it's recorded all of the video streams for your secondary sources, the students can only view one at a time, and they have to click through tabs to do that. So we typically recommend, just to keep things simple and to maintain your own sanity, that you just do a primary source and a single secondary source whenever possible. And you can do a lot with just that. So for our example here, I am going to just make sure that capture PowerPoint is enabled. I'm not going to capture my main screen for this example or my second